everyone. How is everybody doing? Hope you are doing well. Pinch punch, first day of the month. We are now in April. Can you believe we are in April? I'm a little bit scared. I'm a little bit scared that we're like 4 months into the year, to be honest. Like the time is just flying. I'm just like, where is the time going? This is crazy. I feel like I was in the club at New Year's yesterday. Like, what are you talking about? It's April. What are you talking about? It's April. Wow. Anyway, here we are. It is April indeed. Rachel, I got the live for the first time. I'm so glad. Hey, Janita. Hey, Gwendolyn. Hey, Wendy. Hey, Lottie. Hey, Carolyn. Well, glad to have you all here. Hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button, please. Quite a few things to go through. Got a whole list of things to discuss, articles to get through. I feel like it's going to be an even more eventful April as we have Harry and Meghan out and about. And whenever Harry and Meghan are out and about, be prepared as usual, folks. Put your Nikes on and pull out your Glocks because they will be throwing everything at the wall as usual. But who cares, right? At this point, we've got too many positive things to look forward to. So let's jump straight into first story of the day. Natasha Archer, Kate's former stylist. So we were all wondering what was coming soon from Miss Copycat. Was with Kate for well over a decade, but like a decade and a half. And the original Kate look, or the signature Kate look, was the coat dress. A rainbow of coat dresses. We never really got anything fresh or modern until Meghan came along. And then all of a sudden, here we are with Kate wearing slick suits and you know, wearing her hair wavy, wearing just a more modern look than anything you'd ever seen her in before. Kate's style was that very typical traditional royal Mary Poppins cosplay with a funny hat kind of look. It wasn't this sleek modern kind of look. And we all wondered, was it her? Was it William trying to force her to look more like Meghan? Was it jealousy? Was it obsession? What was it that was driving Kate to behave like this? And then we find out that her stylist, Natasha Archer, was secretly following Meghan and a bunch of her friends and associates the whole time. And then she left. Not much has been said since. She's also married to Chris Jackson, royal photographer. So they're all within these royal circles. Then she posted a vague coming soon Instagram after a months-long hiatus saying coming soon. And I guess it's not the expose that we were wishing the genie would give us, but it was kind of crazy. She's starting some kind of style consultancy, and I'm going to get into that in a sec. But it's kind of crazy that she announced that she was leaving Kensington Palace after more than a decade. Didn't give a reason. And in the world of Windsor close staffers, especially the ones that have been there for a long time, it was an interesting move that she would leave when Kate is so close on the verge of becoming the queen consort. That is if the divorce rumors are not, separation rumors aren't true, and she will become the queen consort. That's what really makes Natasha leaving quite unusual, because it's not that there isn't a rotation of staff within the Kensington Palace walls. They do nothing but rotate staff. But given how long Natasha was there, and given that Kate should be, if the rumors aren't true, on the verge of becoming queen consort, this is a job for life. This is being in those aristo circles. It's the creme de la creme for them to be in these circles and be this close to a royal. So why, when we are so close to the finish line, would Natasha Archer decide to leave? And then it's also interesting that her marriage to Chris Jackson, royal photographer, has also fallen apart. So, what is Natasha doing now? Over the 15 years since Kate Middleton married Prince William, we've watched as she's become a so-called force in the British fashion scene with what was known as a Kate effect. I would say that the Kate effect was in effect at the very beginning of William and Kate's marriage. I wouldn't say it's so much an effect now. So what Natasha posted on her Instagram was, after almost 2 decades working within private households, I'm delighted to begin this next chapter offering discreet bespoke advisory services for those seeking considered guidance across wardrobe, personal presentation, creative direction, and finer details that shape important moments. I mean, what's she going to do? Is she going to have a whole lookbook of what Meghan wore? Is that what she's going to give her clients? Meghan is going to be the blueprint, I'm assuming. Because this lady doesn't seem like she has a single original thought in her mind when it comes to styling. Because how Kate was dressing before Meghan came onto the scene was... It wasn't anything innovative or interesting. And then Meghan came onto the scene, and then Kate's whole style changed. And then pretty much everything was going off of what Meghan was wearing. So what service is Natasha going to offer? It's going to be the Pinterest board of what Meghan wore. Now notice she doesn't mention the palace or Kate at all. Natasha was also at the Lindo wing just before Kate gave birth to Prince George. The famous blue polka dot dress, that was Natasha too. She doesn't mention anything about Kate or the palace. I mean, you know what? She got what she wanted. She has a name for herself, and she can move on. To be honest, it's a sinking ship anyway. But yeah, she's not going to be Angela Kelly. So I still wonder why Archer basically sat on her hands for nearly 9 months after leaving palace work. How much time did it take her to come up with personal stylist for hire, which is basically her new thing, indeed. The 9-month gap and the fact that Natasha seems banned from mentioning Kate as a reference. How bad was this breakup? Something smells like a pretty strict NDA. And no, women don't want to dress like Kate. Not even Kate wants to dress like Kate. That's why Kate and Natasha spent years style stalking Meghan and creating Meghan mood boards for Kate's reference. Also, there's a mention of Kate's possible new unofficial stylist, Jeannie Chadwick Healy. I don't get the royal system around having unofficial stylists. It's dumb as hell and insulting for all parties. It's not some scandalous thing that a high-profile woman would use the services of a stylist. What's scandalous to me is that Kate is so unserious and unprofessional that she won't give her stylist credit, nor will she hire actual stylists who know what the hell they're doing. Yeah, that's another thing. To be honest, I actually think for all of their for all of the way that they like to throw insults at Americans and American style and Hollywood style, she actually needs a Hollywood stylist. She needs Rachel Zoe. Can somebody please call Rachel Zoe? That's what she actually needs. I don't really know any well-known stylists in the UK, to be honest. Like most of the stylists I know are American or Parisian. You know, Roche, another one. Law Roche, the one that works with Zendaya. So I think that's what she needs. She needs a top tier Hollywood stylist. Oh well, good luck to Natasha. I'm sad that we won't be getting an expose. NDA must have been good. A payout must have been good. I think one of these royal rota rats will eventually write a book and tell us what went down. What went down with Natasha Archer and Kate. And then at the same time that was going down with Natasha Archer and Kate, Natasha was divorcing her husband. Definitely more to that story than what we know. Alrighty. Let's go through your comments and then we'll get on to the next thing. Let's see. Sorry folks, give me one sec. The back end is loading very slowly today. Lottie, you said, did you see that old Harry today? Man, he looks good. You can tell he's definitely moisturizing. Are there new pictures of Harry out? I don't think I've seen any. I actually haven't looked at Twitter this morning because I was just getting ready for the podcast and I already had all my pictures uploaded. So if Harry has been out and about, I will have to discuss that in the next podcast. Let me have a look at. Oh, yes. He's in Washington. Okay, I'll have to actually discuss that in the next podcast because obviously I was away for 2 days, so I'm just catching up. Do you know what? I'm going to do a second podcast later today because there's actually a lot that I need to catch up on. But yeah, I've seen that Harry in DC. Yeah, looking very, very good. Ooh. Oh gosh, there's more about. Hang on a second. Oh gosh, you know what? So much has come out since yesterday. I'm looking at the feed. Sorry, folks. I'm actually looking at the feed. I'm like, so much has come out since yesterday. I just haven't, I haven't had a moment to collect all my data. Okay, we're having a second podcast today. Literally, you said, why didn't her stylist just style Kate like herself? She knows how to dress like herself. Yeah, just carry on with the coat dresses. Oh, Megan's even posted a story with high oh my gosh, there's so much I need to catch up on. All right, folks. Sorry, I'm getting distracted on Twitter because so much is on the feed that I haven't seen. When do you think that Natasha was throwing shade at Kate with following Instagram accounts of Megan? I mean, I think the shade here is that she didn't try to hide it. Yeah, Natasha cannot dress anyone. Excuse me, ma'am. But you know, there are gonna be people who flock to her just because she dressed Kate. There's gonna be a handful that definitely do. In fact, I actually think she will have a pretty good. If she went to like the UAE or Dubai, I think she probably has more of an audience there. Okay, let's get on to William. Big question of the day: are the royals greedy or broke, or both? Are the royals greedy or broke or both? Because William is out here liquidating assets. Charles is running around taking money from the Bin Laden family, from all of these weird foreign entities. You had people taking money in the family from Epstein. So what's going on? I honestly believe that all of this time there's been some very dodgy accounting going on with the duchies and even with the sovereign grant. I'm telling you now, something very scandalous is going to come out about the sovereign grant. Because it doesn't matter how many different explanations I've ever heard about the sovereign grant. I've heard about 10. There's still no clarity. And then even with the accounting, I believe for the last few years, a lot of the accounting has been blocked off. We can't get information on royal accounting. There's definitely a scandal coming with royal money. And in fact, that might be what brings them down. Not the hiding of the abuse of Andrew or the other nefarious figures that they're close to. It could actually just be a matter of accounting. Because with that, it's in black and white. You can take that to court very easily. You can have a public referendum about that very easily. And then we'll see if the people who roll their eyes whenever somebody asks about Andrew, as we should, this is what tends to be what gets under people's skin. Another fantastic example is MAGA. Oh, it wasn't the grab them by the P comments that put you off. It wasn't going into an illegal war that put you off. It wasn't detaining people with these Nazi ICE officers that put you off. It's your gas prices that it's putting you off Trump. It's usually something like that that gets the bigoted folks. So I think with the British royals, yeah, follow the money. I think with the British royals, it's going to be accounting that brings them down. Because people are showing over and over again, they don't have a moral compass. But if you can get under people's skin in a way that, you know, irritates them on a more personal level, whether it's the gas prices or their taxpayer money, that's when institutions tend to crumble. That's when the gig is up. Anyway, 5 years ago, the then Prince Charles was trying to get some of the worst stories out before he became king. For like a full year, there were exclusives in the Telegraph and the Times of London, all about some of the shadiest issues you can imagine. There were stories about Charles taking money from the Bin Laden family, Charles accepting suitcases of cash, Charles handing out knighthoods to petro-billionaires who donated money to his foundation, and on and on. Once he became king, all of those stories disappeared, which was Charles's plan all along. Not that there was a huge outcry as the stories came out in real time. Exactly. And this is the other thing. They know that all of these stories can come out. And what are the British public going to do? Nothing. Literally, the most protest you had with a bunch of people that showed up outside of Buckingham Palace, all we got was a few videos, bad videos that people took of the day. None of the news, mainstream news covered it. And then it came out that those people were QAnon types anyway. Sometimes the worst people you know actually makes a good point. But nonetheless, those are the only people that actually showed up in mass to protest outside of Buckingham Palace. If I can find any of the old videos of that, I'll play them one day if you didn't see them, if you missed that. But other than that, have I seen like mass protests outside of Buckingham Palace? No. And even that day, I think maybe there was just a couple hundred, if that. Once he became king, all of those stories disappeared, which was Charles's plan all along. I said repeatedly back when Charles was lucky that his post-Diana scandals were such dry financial crimes and improprieties. So it is with Prince William as well. People are always going to be more interested in the gossip about his life, his marriage and his violent temper, to the point where people aren't paying attention to William's financial shenanigans. Late last week, we learned something sort of bizarre. William has control of the Duchy of Cornwall, a vast real estate network of farms, slums and property which should be owned by the government and not Workshire Willie? Well, we learned that William is selling off 10 duchy-owned farms in the Devon area. He's giving farmers the chance to buy their farms at a discount, but those farmers would likely have to go heavily into debt to purchase even at a discount rate. The farmers are absolutely furious and they're talking to the press, but some people are baffled by the whole scheme in the first place. Why in the world would William decide to liquidate 10 owned duchy farms to turn into profit? Those are questions being asked by Norman Barker, who loves whacking the Windsors, and various Labour MPs. William's private property empire should be subjected to a full financial review, critics have said, after the proposed sale of a historic country estate showed it had become mercenary. The Duchy of Cornwall, which brought the Prince of Wales 22 million of private income last year, has been criticised over a decision to sell 10 farms at the Brandnich estate in Devon. Tenant farmers affected by the sale said they had been appalled by the actions of the Prince's commercial body, which said it was orientating its portfolio towards areas of significant social and environmental need. And yet here he is selling them off. The farmers also criticised William, who champions mental health, for causing sleepless nights only weeks after they were reassured about the portfolio's financial well-being. Royal finance experts said that the situation bolstered the case for more public scrutiny of the duchy after controversy in recent years about the 1 billion estate. William, the 25th Duke of Cornwall, assumed control of the duchy after his father became king. Barker said that an urgent review of the royals' finances, including the Duchy of Cornwall, was needed to increase Buckingham Palace's accountability during a time of growing public scrutiny. He called for the duchies to be abolished and wrapped into the Crown estate, which manages royal assets on behalf of the taxpayer. Baroness Hodge of Barking echoed the call for much greater transparency in how the Duchy of Cornwall and the Duchy of Lancaster were run. Indeed, and Labour peers said that the duchies should not be seen as private entities owned by the royals, and that the public had a clear stake going back to their creation in the 14th century. These are not private assets, she said. These are assets that they have because they are the royal family, and they were granted to them to fund their duties. Their duties that, according to William, include showing up and giving a smile and wave here and there. Mind you, he has a title that is tied to the land also. So he has the title of Baron Brandnich while he's divesting himself from the real estate. So it goes on to say, I didn't know that barony title was tied to the land as well, given that a town in the country of Sussex had a petition against referring to Harry and Meghan by their Sussex titles. Exactly. And now here you have William, who is the one betraying them and their land. But you wanted to have a petition against Harry and Meghan? It does seem fair that William should give up his Baron of Brandnich title too, especially since he has no interest in holding on to the farms for future Dukes of Cornwall. It does feel like there should be more oversight, especially government oversight, if a high-handed Duke of Cornwall decides to liquidate duchy assets for no apparent reason. Oh, honey, there's a reason. They're either greedy or broke or both. Now we need to find out which one is it. Because I'm thinking it's both, somehow. I don't think these people have the money like that. It's like they're keeping up appearances. And if that's the case, what has been going on behind the scenes then between government and the royals concerning this money? The claim that the profits from the sale of the farms will be folded back into the duchy doesn't make any sense either. William is already getting 22 million annually from the duchy. Why not reinvest some of those profits into the duchy? Exactly. Not only why not reinvest some of those profits into the duchy, if you have that much money, you can get a financial advisor to reinvest the money in many other things. Who is financially advising these people? I mean, I believe Coutts is the Queen's Bank or the Monarch's Bank. So surely they would have financial advisors. If you have 22 million and you put some of that in stocks, you put some of that in, I don't know, some of that in metals, gold, silver. There's so many things that you can do to grow your money if you already have a lot of money, but you got to manage it well. The average person has a small little investment portfolio, investment fund. So how are these people with millions and millions and millions? What's going on? There's something going on with the money, and eventually it's going to come out. Dear oh dear. You tell me what your thoughts on this are. Because if William got 22 million, right? So that's his private money. The money from the sovereign grant funds all of their day-to-day activities, right? So on the day-to-day, there's not a lot that they have to fund themselves. So if they've got 22 million just lying around from the duchy alone, where is that money going? You know, I read something about Fergie asking the butlers at Buckingham Palace that they had to apparently create a feast for her every evening. Barely any of it would get eaten, and then they would have to throw the rest away. Just the greed and the pompousness. So no wonder they've got no money. And then they're using helicopters like taxis. There you go. Okay, next thing. The Trump state visit is going to go ahead. Sorry, the state visit of Charles going to see Trump in the US is going to go ahead. I'm just surprised at this point that they didn't see more sense. But listen, the way the world is going, does anybody see sense anymore? But it's going ahead, and it's going ahead on the heel of the second largest protest in US history, by the way. Shout out to everybody in the United States. They're not showing you the images. There's a blackout in the US, but we're seeing them. I can see them all over social media. There was also massive protests in London. I hope this trip is absolute chaos. I hope everyone gives them hell. I hope Charles trips on air. I hope the ghost of Diana puts a banana peel in his way and he trips. I hope everybody is embarrassed. It's like they just want to shove it in our faces that they don't care. And you know they're going to have a big old banquet in that disgusting new West Wing that Trump has built. Destroyed a historic building to put his gold gilded trash all over the White House. Anyway, today Buckingham Palace finally confirmed that Charles and Camilla will travel to the United States in late April. Do you know what's going to make this look even worse? Harry and Meghan are going to go to Australia, and along with their commercial ventures, I'm sure will be doing some impactful work as they always do. And then you're going to see all of this grandeur and pompousness over in the US with Trump and Charles. The difference is going to be night and day. The White House confirmed last week, and everyone at Buckingham Palace, Downing Street, and the White House has been briefing the media about the state visit for months. It's one of the few state visits Donald Trump actually wants because he loves the Windsors and their tacky-ass stolen treasures. He's been dying to show off his tacky White House renovations, including the pit where the White House White House East Wing used to be. Incidentally, British political commentators have been begging Charles to cancel this trip or to get Keir Starmer to cancel it. No one in the UK wants any part of this. Exactly. So why does Charles want any part of this? I'm telling you, one of Trump's billionaire friends is going to be giving them money through the back door. That's why they're going. They're probably going to get a nice couple of paychecks from Peter Thiel, whoever. I believe that's the real reason Charles is going. Because politically, this doesn't make sense. The optics of this doesn't make sense. The world is in chaos. They've launched an illegal war in the Middle East. The price of everything is going up. Who in Charles's camp thinks that this makes any political sense? It doesn't. I think that there's another purpose why Charles is going there. There's something he's getting from Trump and something Trump is going to get from him. That's what this is about. Charles will still be going, if only for a day or two. He's also tacked on a trip to Bermuda. UK Prime Minister Starmer has distanced himself from US actions in Iran, repeatedly insisting the UK won't get dragged into conflict. That's actually not true, because I now believe that the UK is allowing US warships to refuel on UK bases. Also, Representative Ro Khanna has now written an open letter to Charles, asking him to meet up with Jeffrey Epstein's victims during the trip. I mean, a very noble request, but meet with them for what? Because if I'm a victim of Epstein, I'm planning an assassination. I'm sorry. Meet with him for what? There's going to be no accountability when it comes to this at this point. These people cover up for the worst of crimes. Not to mention, the FBI is using the King's brothers' communications with Ghislaine Maxwell to expand their probe into Jeffrey Epstein's human trafficking network. Starmer is really sending a 77-year-old cancer patient into one of the biggest shitstorms he's ever seen. Now is the perfect time for several countries to start making noise about how the Windsors need to return a lot of their stolen jewels. And amen. Amen. Corrupt. All of them corrupt. Deeply corrupt. There's no saving these people, by the way. They all need to be rounded up, put on trial, and then put into jail. Why are we allowing these people to rule over us? For what? You know, in the animal kingdom, even monkeys, if a couple of the monkeys start acting out of whack, all of the monkeys attack them and get rid of them. But humans can't seem to get with the program. Yeah, Charles is going for the money and to get a deal with the Epstein files. That's why he's going. That is why he's going. Couldn't be more obvious at this point. Let's have a look at this. YM Droid. Do you want to come up? Do you want to come up and have a chat? No one knows where Jeffrey Epstein's money came from, and no one seems to really know how it was spent. Wouldn't surprise me if royal money was involved. I'm always careful about what I say on this channel, but I think if you go down a deep enough rabbit hole, there's some very interesting theories as to where Jeffrey Epstein's money came from. And I believe some of those theories, given everything that we're seeing in the world today. But I'm going to just say that. You can probably take an educated guess. Would you like to come up, YM Droid? Okay, yeah, I will put the link in the... Here we go. This is just for YM Droid. I'll wait for her to come up. And then we can have a little bit of a chin wag. What else was I gonna cover today? Oh, yes. Thomas Markle. Thomas Markle out here being a whole passport, bro. Apparently he's fallen in love with a young Filipino nurse, y'all. Okay, let's have a little chat with YM Droid, and then we can talk about Thomas Markle. Him and Charles going toe for toe on who can be the worst father of a royal. Hey, YM.
Hey, hello. How are you?
I'm great, my dear. It's a beautiful sunny morning here in Bali. How is it for you? Where are you based again, and what time is it?
Chicago, which was host of one of the larger No Kings rally. I am proud to
Oh,
say.
amazing.
Um, I,
Amazing.
I'm sitting with the 92% who didn't participate. We didn't ask for this mess,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to fully support it though. Fully
Yeah.
support it.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually saw a TikTok video, and it was a white American lady, and somebody asked her, does she feel disappointed that there's not more diversity at the rallies? And she said it's not for people who didn't vote and who are the most oppressed to come out and protest. And I thought that was such a great show of self-awareness. And so I don't think you should feel bad at all for being the 92% that sits out, because you didn't cause this mess. And other people need to take up the fight. Maybe there will be a time when you need to, step out the house, but I don't think it's now.
And I am saving my energy for that. For now, I will continue to deride the circus and the head clown that we have, and I cannot wait. I frankly, like, I'm just waiting for nature to take its course. That man eats so
Yeah.
much McDonald's, and for years we've heard about how terrible McDonald's is. I'm like, Ronald McDonald, Mr. Ronald McDonald, what are you doing? Tap
Yeah.
in. Let's go. What are you doing here? But yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later, he will have put his foot into too many people's mouths, and they
Mm,
will say, I'm just hoping that enough people beyond the people who did not vote for him are getting
yeah.
so sick of him that they decide that he cannot stay. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I think we're all hoping for that, even us non-Americans.
yes, there will be a worldwide celebration. I do have popcorn on standby. I don't really drink, so I don't have champagne, but I'll get some sparkling cider or something.
Fantastic. So I feel like it's been a while since you've been on, and so much has happened. So feel free to comment on anything. And we'll talk about Thomas Markle in a sec, but anything else, feel free to comment on.
Well, I'll throw it back to one that I did manage to catch, and that's Kate's feet and the state of Kate's feet when she decided to go barefoot. So just to lighten things up a little bit, if anyone is eating, I'm not going to ask you to show those photos, because for a while when they had them really pulled out, I said, "Is that like, is that a bag of yams that's tied?" And no, like, it was something weird going on with her toe. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like a Rorschach test. You could put a picture of her feet up there and see, what do you see? And I don't know. I don't know.
I see a royal that does not have a pedicure specialist.
That is, and and to tie it into what you were just talking about, maybe it is the case that they are running low on funds, because if
Mm,
the pristine Rose of England can't seem to afford a decent pedicure to help her
mm-hmm.
out with some of her her podiatry issues. I don't know. Maybe
What's
they
going on?
exactly. Maybe they are struggling. And just to clarify, no one, like I said, in honesty, no one knows. No one knows for certain where Jeffy E's money came from. No one knows for certain what it went out to, who it went out to,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or what it funded. So just saying, in an institution where no one knows for sure how the Royals make all their money, and no one knows for sure where all of that money goes, just seems a little parallel to me. And I wouldn't be
Mm,
surprised if they crossed over. Can't prove anything. Not entirely sure. And I'm certain that the people who can look into that are probably waiting for certain people to no longer be with us,
mm-hmm.
before they fully dive into that. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'll just say I would not be surprised to learn that there are financial connections that go beyond Andrew's friendship with
Mm-hmm.
the knots.
I mean, you had one of the people who was funding Williams' Earthshot was tied to an email in the Epstein files that was tied to some kind of torture video. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's definitely some kind of overlap. I think there's definitely things perhaps that we just don't know. I don't even know if I want to know at this point. I am an empathetic soul. But
I've
again,
listened
that
to
all ties in. It all ties into this, or partly to this trip, I feel.
I've listened to some of the survivor stories, mainly because fortunately I have not been through anything like that directly. So I've figured that for people who can read those, I try to read some of those just so that I think they're so horrible that for most people I completely understand when they say I don't want to know anything about it. But for people who can tolerate a little bit, just to give them their voice, and to at least give them some audience to hear what they've been through. Especially since in a lot of cases they're up against all these very, very powerful people
Powerful.
who
Yeah.
get to dictate the narrative and say, "Oh no, 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 no! I'm far too powerful and respected for that." And who is this, random nobody? They have no idea what they're talking about. So for them, I do, and I can say, as awful as I believe these people could be, I didn't think that they could be that bad, and they are that
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. I guess it's only fitting that Charles would still try to make efforts to sidle up next to the orange stain, and I can't imagine what that diaper smell is going to do for his cancer. So if he stands downwind of Agent Orange and he
uh,
faints or passes out later, I mean, he's already not dealing with a full immune system. We know that he doesn't have
yeah.
like the best taste in companions. See Camilla, but
Mm.
yeah, if he gets too far downwind after the day's McDonald's, I don't know. It might be another front on the war because they'll say, "Oh, he killed our king." I don't know if anybody
Exactly.
would be that upset since it's Charles, but just saying, it might be another international incident.
For sure, for sure. We don't want that. And if the rumors are true, apparently that diaper really, really stank. Um, so
And
let's
it
just
has
get
it
on.
has for some time. It has for some time. There's a guy, and he calls himself a comedian just to protect himself against what he says. But he worked on the set of The Apprentice, and apparently even back then, and I guess this is like 15, 20 years ago now at this point. Um, Even back then, Trump was filling up a diaper, and I'm like, oh, so
Really?
yes, he's been the big stain has been taking big dumps in public for longer than anyone truly knows. And like I said, if they position Charles in the wrong position, I don't know, but if you look at the photos where he's with Mamdani, the whole reason that I believe that Mamdani is always standing up and he's sitting is because he's trying to stay clear of that, of the chemtrail that is coming from his behind, and
But
that's the
so
only
why
way.
has anybody actually like said it? Has anybody actually outright said like this guy wears a diaper and it stinks, or it's just like we're getting bits and pieces and you can kind of put the bits and pieces together and be like,
Look
this
at
is what's
not
been
not
going on.
recently, but if you have a moment, look up Noel Cassler, Cassler. He's the one who worked
Okay.
on The Apprentice, and even in the first term, he was telling people that he wears a diaper that has to be changed very frequently because he stinks that bad. He's apparently odious, legit odious in so many ways. It's, yeah.
Oh gosh. Ugh.
And
Blech.
I, there's no real love for me for Charles, but I'm like, does he deserve it? Does he not? But if you see, like the people in the back, if you see their faces go green, and then you see Charles start to look a little peakish and start to be faint, man. Hopefully Camilla is there with some of her saddlebags and her bosom, and he can, fall into her and
And
make it
help
out.
do you know, now I'll be watching the state visit very, very carefully. Like anybody who stands behind and you see them crinkling their face a bit, then we'll know for sure.
There is a video where he is in the Oval Office and there are people behind him, and you can see one woman, You hear an audible burst of air. I'll just say it like that. And you
What?
see this one woman's face go, they are not paying me enough to be here. They are not paying me enough to be right here.
This is not what I signed up for when I wanted to be in the White House.
Exactly, exactly. There's quite a few of those moments, and I'm imagining that they don't get the most attention, or they don't really get the most play. It's, it seems like a silly issue, but I the man is he's rotting from the inside, and apparently
Yeah.
smells like it. So
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Okay. Okay, let's not give people on your side of the planet nightmares before they go to sleep. Let's go
No,
on
I'm just
to
well, but
Tom.
I'm just saying, for everybody, and for everybody in the UK who's been protesting Charles, for everyone here, maybe we get a 2 for 1. There's just some explosive fit of rumblings, and they both I don't know, and they both go up in a cloud of green smoke.
Death via a cloud of fart smoke. That would be a way to go. All right, enough about Trump's skankiness. Let's move
Flatulence.
on to
Yeah.
yeah, let's move on to Thomas Markle's skankiness. Apparently Thomas Markle has found love in the Philippines. As these nasty passport bro types usually do. They go for women who are way younger than them, are economically mismatched. Apparently she's 35 years his junior. So let's have a read of this from Celebrity. Let me get this orange clown off the screen. And get this other clown on the screen instead. Oh, have I? Okay, do you know what? You probably don't even want to look at a picture of Thomas Markle anyway, and I doesn't seem to have loaded.
you
So like,
know, I
I'll put an image of these three lovely people on the screen instead while I read this article. Go on, YM Droid.
I was gonna say, like, you don't really smell him through the screen as much as you do with our current head clown, but it's close. It's close. I just, I don't know that I would want to stand downwind of Thomas Markle either. That
No,
woman who they sent over there to suck up to him. Ugh, she's
I
bold.
mean she's been around him for some time, ever since Mexico. And then we had the one-legged drama that happened in December. So Thomas magically needed a foot, no, a whole leg amputated less than a year after he moved from the Philippines with his son. And instead of sharing his medical drama with his family, he called up the Daily Mail's Carolyn Graham to announce it. And Thomas kept Graham fully up to date with every medical update, and the Mail ran multiple stories about why hasn't the Duchess of Sussex flown to the Philippines to visit her amputee father. Now, Meghan responded brilliantly by contacting the American embassy in the Philippines and sending a handwritten letter to Thomas. Not only that, she asked an American consulate official to document the receipt of the letter to Thomas. That was the end of it from Meghan's side, and she scared the bejesus out of her toxic father and the Mail. You see, the Mail and all of these tabloids, they keep underestimating Meghan. I can guarantee you, they probably knew, Harry and Meghan have known something like this is going to be coming for a while, and they knew already how to handle it. The
They
Mail
I'm
still hasn't. Sorry, go on.
Oh no, I was just gonna say they put that playbook together perfectly, or whoever is assisting them was very capable in doing that, because I am certain that they knew that there was going to be a Thomas episode where he decided to act out somehow, and it's great, honestly. Whoever helped them come up with that playbook of how to deal with his outbursts, they need to be working with everybody around the world for how to deal with, again,
Yeah,
this our
yeah.
senile clown.
It was brilliant, wasn't it?
It is, because they don't have the ability to say that she didn't make any efforts, and I'm certain that there was something in there that, like, that did stipulate that if it was published there would be consequences, and that was super smart. So
Yeah.
I do feel, well, okay. So I have a little bit of I want to say insider info on this one. One of my very, very good friends here is from the Philippines, and she told me these old guys, they come over, they think that, the women love them, but they see them as a job.
Yeah.
And so they're nice to them, they take care of them, and they're just waiting for them to kick the bucket, honestly. Sometimes as soon as they say I do, they are waiting for their job. They do their job, they get, taken care of to a certain degree, and they are waiting for
Mm.
it to be done. And to whichever Filipino lady signed up for that job, whew, bless you, sister, bless you. I don't think you know what you signed up for, but hopefully with one leg he can't chase you. So there's that.
She can run faster than he can. Well,
Exactly.
you mentioned the letter, and it is true. The Daily Fail have not published that letter because they know that she would sue the F out of them like she did last time. And now Caroline Graham wrote a first person account of her deeply inappropriate relationship with Thomas. And obviously Caroline Graham writes for the Daily Fail. And at the end of the day, Thomas's scheme with the mail, it failed horribly. It took them over 3 months to figure out how to basically exploit Thomas again. And behold, Thomas is now dating this much younger Filipino nurse, and then Carolyn Graham got the exclusive, of course. So this is from the Daily Fail. Meghan Markle's estranged father has found love again with a Filipino nurse, 35 years his junior. The retired Hollywood lighting director, 81, says he feels blessed and beyond happy. I wouldn't be surprised if this nurse is a paid actor, if she's being paid by the Daily Fail to sit by Thomas's side. Because, and then for him to give this exclusive on his newfound love to Carolyn Graham, who works for the Daily Fail.
It and oh goodness, I don't even want to think of what's really going on there. But do you think there's some threesome situation happening with Thomas, Caroline, and I want to say this unfortunate paid wife?
I don't know, and I don't even want to think about it. I'm gonna stay out of grown folks' business when it comes to that one.
Okay, smart, smart. That's yeah. You know what? For her, maybe it's not. You may be onto something. Maybe they did foot part of the bill to get him a companion. And honestly, with him having one leg, being 81, she might do okay. I mean, like we don't know how many more years he's gonna have to have hanging in there on that one leg, so he can't chase her around. That's good. She can
Mm.
always have a headache and just run off if he tries to get frisky.
Now,
She apparently gets paid for. She's gonna get paid for some type of exclusives. Likely to repeat whatever they tell her to repeat that he told her about Megan or something along those lines.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Sorry, I haven't got the picture up on the screen, but the Daily Fail actually do have a picture of her and him. I've actually only just seen this now. He's in his chair. He did okay. So now we have actual proof. He did indeed get his leg amputated. He has one leg in this picture, and the nurse is standing with him. She's actually taken a picture with him in her nurse scrubs, with him in his chair with his one leg. It's just sad because this is still Megan's father, and things could have just gone a very different way. But I think that all he could see in his daughter is this idea of her being a duchess, and that seemed to take over the fact that she's his daughter. So things have just gone such a horrible way.
it really does, and I think certainly he started to see it as his claim to fame as well, rather than any type of support. Say what you will about the air hostess, Carol Middleton, but she at least knew when to fall back.
Mm,
She got her daughter into that family, which who knows if they're, if they have second thoughts about that. But she got her daughter in there, and you didn't hear that much until they, of course, wanted to let everybody know that she was broke. But you didn't hear that much coming from them. There weren't, like kind of weird leaks going on, or something coming from them. to fuel anything the way that you did with Thomas Markle. So it's goodness. It's really it's really unfortunate. You don't I don't no one wishes anything bad on him. But I think it was all up to him and how he played it, and he ended up playing himself because he thought, oh, now like like now she's my ticket to everything, and that he could live off of her name. And honestly, if he had kept quiet to some extent, he probably could have. She probably would have said, like, yes, that's the Duchess's father. And like, and she would have helped him to some degree, I think. But
I mean,
apparently,
she was helping him anyway.
yeah, like, I don't think that she would have. Like, I don't think that she would have cut him off to the degree that she's had to if he'd been anywhere near just a reasonable person, not even good. Like, if his tantrums had been in private, he may still be somewhat in the fold. It's unfortunate, but I don't know. The dusty men are global, apparently. Maybe they should have brought him into that Netflix documentary on the manosphere. To coach the old guys. Okay, when you're ready to move into the old man Mojo Dojo Casa house, here's how you continue to to harass and demean the women in your life. It's
I mean, I'm here in Southeast Asia, and I see these possible bros all the time. There was one in particular, actually. Funny story. He actually went for me first, and I smelt his ish because he's one of these weird ass dating coaches.
Ugh.
41, and I just smelt this air of weirdo desperation from him. Anyway, I rejected him. Sometime later, I actually found out that this guy who's 41 is dating a 25-year-old. Of course he is. A 25-year-old, they're dating for a year, they get engaged. She basically has her rent paid for the 6 months or so that she's in Bali, and then decides, nah, she's had enough, and then goes back home to Russia. I believe she was Russian. But of course, that's exactly what she would do because she's a hot 25-year-old. Why would she be seriously looking to marry a 41-year-old? And by the way, this guy was a complete prick, but he's a pretty decent looking prick. Like, my good sis didn't have to work too hard. Like, he was a decent, good looking guy. So it's like she got 6 months of her rent paid, and then decided, no, I'm done, I'm going back home, which is exactly what she would do. And these men are so delusional when it comes to this, and there's no telling them anything.
And then you look at Thomas Markle talking about how, oh yes, well, because of my charming good looks and my competition time in a foot race, I'm being silly here.
Yes.
Look at this young Filipino nurse who wants me. Obviously that man, they had him hooked up to a steady IV of delusion. So and maybe
that's the best way of describing it. They're hooked on a steady IV of delusion. I mean, good for that girl wherever she is now.
Yeah, that's it. Listen, that is smart. She got to be a stay-at-home girlfriend for the length of time that she wanted, and knew exactly when to say, okay, on to the next. And like I said, I think that this Filipino lady, they said 81, one leg. She said, how long? We'll pay your rent for a year. She's like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Janita, a dating coach that can't keep a woman. This is the irony. This is literally the irony of it. I'm just like, you know what was even more funny? The first conversation that I had with this guy, there were more red flags in that 1 hour conversation than an F1 race. I don't think I've ever had a conversation with a guy that had so many red flags, and this guy is a dating coach. Oh, it's insane. Oh, it's insane out here in Bali, folks. If you're wondering, by the way, I don't date out here. I don't even touch the walls. I don't even touch the walls.
at some point I'm going to be able to travel again. Probably. Well, who knows? I'm going to work on my French accent so that I can tell people I'm Canadian. Um, just so I am not embarrassed when I come out. But
Well, if
at some point I'm going to make it to Bali. And if you're still there, I'm
yeah.
definitely coming to visit. And I'm actually pretty tall, so I scare a lot of them away. And it's fine. I've already told my friend that, like, if I ever go to the Philippines with her, just tell everybody I'm her bodyguard, and it'll be fine. Nobody's gonna mess with her.
Well, I'll be right here if you decide to come. Can I just say thank you so much to Pamela S. I won't say your second name if you don't want your second name out there for the PayPal, much appreciated. And also to Kat Harlem, you said the nurse was wearing a wedding ring. Carolyn wants to stop the rumors that she's dating Thomas. I think this is a lie, just my opinion. I mean, I'd be pretty embarrassed if everybody thought I was dating him too, but she's decided for whatever reason to be by his side for some time. I got the impression that they were dating as well. Now she's insisting that they're just friends, but I mean, that's one hell of a friend to move all the way from the UK to Mexico to live with you there and then go all the way to the Philippines to live with you there. That's a hell of a friend. That's an interesting friend.
It isn't it,
I think it,
and what kind of outfit? I know everybody knows that the Daily Mail is a trash tabloid in the first place. But seriously, what kind of barely respectable, allegedly journalistic establishment is paying, like, is setting up the Thomas Markle beat to the point where that can turn into a reporter's full-time job? That is,
yeah.
like, that just, I'm like, okay, so you all are just straight up running a brothel here and telling the working girls, okay, come back with a story and we've got you covered. I mean, personally, I would be the very last person on that beat. I'd be like, pull me off of that one. Assign me to, like, the Lewis Hamilton circuit or something. I even if he's a little douchey, I'll go and live with him to try and get the story. But Thomas Markle, seriously, that assignment comes up. Who is standing in
No,
line
no.
to get in that pool? Ugh.
Someone stepped up to the plate, and I am actually sure that she's a paid actor by the Daily Fail.
It wouldn't surprise me if they have the budget to keep Caroline Graham. I goodness, like, I don't even know what it would take. Like, the number of blindfolds and smelling salts that you would need to have somebody up under Thomas Markle all that time. So they've exhausted their budget on that, and then they still have a little bit left over. They really are trying to turn this into something, but at this point, it's like, okay, stop trying to make fetch happen. Thomas Markle ain't
Yeah,
happening, and Megan is giving him. She's paying him dust and giving him absolutely nothing to spin a story out of. And to think that anyone, I mean, even Piers Moron called him and Scammy Sammy out on their BS and doesn't really want to hear from them anymore. They've said all of the nasty, like, vitriolic things that they
yeah.
can, but, like, even the dregs of the, like, journalism basement are like, there's nothing to see here. What
Exactly. The
exactly is the story?
all Thomas Markle and Scammy and the half brother, all they can do is talk crap about Megan, but they don't actually have any stories, anything that, is solid. So this is why even the bottom feeding tabloids are now just sick of them. I think that with the Daily Fail, I think they just want to rinse Thomas Markle for anything that's left. I mean, any article with Thomas Markle is going to get clicks and views, and I think they just want to, drag this for as long as they can, and he doesn't even see that he's just being used.
I, and I feel like maybe there are some Daily Mail readers who relate to him, because we all know that these conservative types, they have, multiple wives, multiple kids with different moms, multiple failed marriages, multiple
Hmm.
everything. So maybe they see a little bit of themselves in him, and he is, like, somewhat of interest. I just don't know how many of them are really how many of them are there to keep that going, because at this stage that's all the audience that they have for it. And of course, like, still the bitter women who are probably 60 years old and still think that Meghan stole their chance with Harry. But aside from that very specific audience, I just don't even know, like, who they're propping up all of or coming up with all of these Thomas Markle stories for.
Yeah. Well, they'll just keep kicking the can down the road, and seeing how long that they can make money from this. All right. With all of that said, thank you so much, YM Droid. This is such a nice delight to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Well, yeah, I finally managed to catch a live. I'm hustling on my thing. I saw your candles, and good luck. Oh goodness, I have some, but they're US based and a different theme. And I know the work that goes into those. So
yeah,
definitely wishing you all the best with those
thank you.
and getting them going. But very happy to be able to catch a live.
Thank you. No, appreciate you. Okay, folks, let's wrap this up. See if there's any more comments I need to get through before we check out. Oh, there was one that I saved. Who is it by? Oh yeah, Patricia, you said about the royals, they are not broke. They are squirreling away money in preparation for the abolition of the monarchy. Do you think they know it's coming? Do you think maybe there's been whispers down the halls of Westminster? And they probably know it is coming, and they see the end of the road, and they're just like, yeah, let's put away as much money and jewels and whatnot. Maybe. That's a good theory. All right, have a fabulous day, everyone. Thank you all you who joined the live. There's almost 400 of you in the live. Please hit that thumbs up button and subscribe button if you haven't on your way out, and links in the description box if you would like to donate to the channel. It definitely helps, folks. And I will see you. Yeah, I will see you again today. Well, my time today, because there's a lot that I need to catch up on. So we'll have 2 podcasts, okay? Ciao.